Kyle flipped over his lemon-scented super-duper bonus card and read what was written on the other side. You will find the ultimate version of this board game on the second floor balcony circling the rotunda. Huh? Said Akimi. What's that mean? I don't know. Let's roll out the paper and see. Akimi and Sierra helped Kyle anchor the edges on the scroll on the tiled floor. Okay, said Kyle, it looks like the early sketch for a board game. See the circle in the center of the other circle? That's probably where you place the spinner. You move your pieces around the 10 rooms. He stopped. Wait a second. What? Said Akimi. Do you recognize the game? Asked Sierra. Yep, said Kyle. I played it this week with my brother Curtis. It's Mr. Limoncello's bewilderingly baffling bibliomania. It takes place in a make-believe library. What about finding the ultimate version up on the second floor balcony? Asked Sierra. Kyle grinned. You'll see. Coming up from the basement, Kyle saw Andrew Peckelman in the middle of the rotunda reading room, opening a long metal box sitting on the top of the center desk. The holographic image of Mrs. Tobin was there, smiling patiently, as Peckelman pulled some kind of magazine out of the box. Miguel was also near the librarian's desk, apparently waiting his turn for a consultation. That's the box we saw the robot pluck off the shelf, whispered Akimi. Kyle nodded. He motioned for the others to follow him and slipped around the circumference of the rotunda. Akimi and Sierra slunk after him. In the shadows on the far side of the room, they saw Haley Daly heading for the staircase. They'd just come up. Steps that would take her back to the basement. Kyle wondered if she'd found something else to crawl through. If so, he hoped it was bigger than a mailbox. Is this the real magazine? He heard Peckelman shout at the hologram. Yes, Andrew. This concludes your librarian consultation. Next, how may I help you, Miguel? Not so fast, snapped Andrew. I'm not done. Your consultation just concluded, said Miguel. Says who? The librarian. Miguel, said hologram of Miss Tobin. What is your question? Sorry, bro. I told you. She's just like Miss Younghands at school, snapped Peckelman. All the librarians like you better than me. Yo, ease up. You'll see, Mrs. Tobin. You'll all see. I'm gonna beat Miguel Fernandez big time. And when I win, I'm gonna tell Mr. Limoncello to fire you. She's a hologram, said Miguel with a laugh. You can't fire somebody who doesn't actually exist. Then I'll tell Limoncello to pull her plug. Peckelman grabbed his magazine and stormed out of the rotunda into the lobby. I guess Andrew's planning on doing something with the front door, Kyle whispered to Akimi. Well, that's totally dumb. They already told us the way out isn't the way we came in. Maybe Andrew doesn't think Dr. Zinchenko was telling us the truth, suggested Sierra. Come on, said Kyle, leading his team toward the closest staircase up to the second floor. Glancing over his shoulder, he watched Miguel place a slip of paper on the table in front of the semi-translucent librarian. This item has been temporarily removed from the stacks, Miguel, said Mrs. Tobin. You will find it in a display case next to the original Winkle and Grimble scale model. Let me give you that location. There was a grinding sound, like when movie tickets shoot up through the slot at the box office. Miguel snatched the small square of paper that popped up from the librarian's desk and spun around. He froze the instant he saw Kyle, Akimi, and Sierra sneaking around the room behind him. Chapter 24. "Hey," said Miguel, hiding the tiny square of paper behind his back. "Yo, said Kyle. "What's up?" "Nothing. Just, working the puzzle." "Yeah, us too." "Okay, later." Both boys thumped their fists on their chests like baseball players do. Miguel turned and ran for a staircase winding up to the second floor. "Come on, you guys," said Kyle as he took off running for a different set of steps. When Kyle, Akimi, and Sierra made it up to the balcony, they watched Miguel run up to the third floor. As soon as he disappeared into a room up there, Kyle unrolled the game sketch. "Look at the drawing, then look down at the floor," said Kyle. "They're the same," said Sierra. "Exactly. A circular room with a round desk at the center of that circle." "Awesome," said Akimi. "And there are 10 doors ringed around the balcony up here on the second floor, just like on the game board." Kyle tapped the rendering on the spinner in the right-hand corner of the game plans. "See how the spinner is divided into 10 different colored sections numbered 0 to 9? It looks like the Wonder Dome," said Akimi, "when it's not doing its kaleidoscope thing or running a video that makes you think the building is hang gliding across Alaska, which totally made me airsick." "Well, in the game, you have to go into all 10 Dewey Decimal book rooms and answer a trivia question about a book. If you answer correctly, you slip a book into your bookshelf and move on to another part of the library. When you have 10 books, one from each room, it's basically a race to see who can exit the library first." "Okay," said Akimi, sounding pumped. "This is good. This is major. Except one thing's missing," said Kyle. "What?" said Sierra. "Mr. Limoncello always works a clever backdoor shortcut into his games. For instance, in Family Frenzy, you can use the coal chute to slide into the millionaire's mansion at the end," said Akimi. "Exactly. And in the castle game, Charles snuck out through the sewers. Anyway, when my brother Curtis beat me at Bibliomania..." "You lost?" Akimi acted surprised. "It happens, occasionally, but only because Curtis used this shortcut." Kyle tapped a black square on the game diagram. It took him straight out to the street. "He beat me by one spin of the spinner." "I don't see any black squares in the floor of our rotunda," said Akimi. "Maybe," said Sierra, "for this new game, Mr. Limoncello put the secret square someplace besides the main room." Kyle nodded. "And maybe to win this new game, we need to play the old one." "You're a genius," said Akimi. "No, my brother Curtis is the genius. I just like to play games." "So, do libraries even have board games?" "Sure," said Sierra. I mean, the library in my dad's town has them." "Which department?" asked Akimi, pulling out her floor plan. "Young adult." Akimi tapped her map. "Third floor stairs over there." "Let's go," said Kyle. But before they could take off, they heard Mr. Limoncello's voice echoing in the rotunda. "Are you ready for your extreme challenge, Bridget?" Kyle and his teammates peered over the ledge of the balcony. Bridget Wadge was alone in front of the librarian's desk, staring up at the ceiling. "Yes, sir," she said. "Are you sure?" Mr. Limoncello's voice boomed out of the hidden speakers. "You still have 22 hours to find the exit." "I want to go for it now, sir. Get a jump on everybody else." "Very well, Dr. Zinchenko. Reset the statues." The 10 holographic statues in their recessed nooks flickering off, leaving black and empty spaces. "This extreme challenge is based on the classic game of author's card game," said Mr. Limoncello. "Here are the authors in your deck. Magically, new holographic statues appeared as Mr. Limoncello rattled off the authors' names. Charles Dickens, Raymond Chandler, Edgar Allan Poe, Agatha Christie, Patricia Highsmith, Mario Puzo, Frederick Forsyth, John Le Carre, Dashiell Hammett, and Fyodor Dostoevsky. He wrote Crime and Punishment, said Bridget excitingly. Indeed he did. In fact, said Bridget, all those authors wrote crime novels. Correct again. However, that's the easy part. Dr. Z, how do we make this author's game ridiculously difficult enough to qualify as an extreme challenge? Simple. The librarian's voice echoed under the dome. You will have 2 minutes, Bridget, to name 4 books written by each of our authors. Kyle gulped. That's impossible, he whispered. Not really, said Sierra. She was about to start rattling off titles when Mr. Limoncello said, "Go!" The sound of the ticking clock reverberated around the room. Okay, said Bridget, down on the main floor. Agatha Christie, Murder on the Orient Express. 10 Little Indians, Death on the Nile. The Mousetrap. Somewhere a bell dinged and the British lady in the sensible shoes disappeared. Poe, The Murders in the Rue Morgue. The Mask of the Red Death. The Purloined Letter. The Cask of Amontillado. Another ding. Another statue vanished. Bridget kept going. Man, whispered Kyle. What grade is she in? College? 7th, said Akemi, just like us. Bridget Wadge kept tearing through the authors. The bell kept dinging, but the clock kept ticking too. 10 seconds, said Mr. Limoncello. Bridget had saved the worst for last. Fyodor Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment. Crime and Punishment. The one about the brothers, and then she stalled. She'd run out of gas. A buzzer sounded. I'm sorry, Bridget, said Dr. Zinchenko, but as we advised you, the extreme challenges are extremely difficult. You will be going home with lovely parting gifts. Kindly hand your library card to Clarence and thank you for playing Escape from Mr. Limoncello's library. That settles it, muttered Kyle. I am never ever asking for one of those extreme challenge dealios. Me neither, said Akemi. I might, said Sierra, maybe. And then she showed Kyle and Akemi the rumpled sheet of paper where she had written down 5 book titles for all 10 authors.